Next on Judge for Yourself.
It was terrifying. This disembodied head came right at me.
These experts believe in ghosts.
When things start flying around you, this is real psychokinetic activity.
But others say they're fake.
A rocking chair that moves when no one's near it is a function of stepping on a plank.
Our jury gets in the spirit.
I don't believe these people at all.
If I came out and said, oh yeah, I saw something in my room last night, you people would probably call me a kook.
Do ghosts really exist?
Judge for yourself.
Bone-chilling moans, clanging chains and shadowy figures that appear and disappear at will. Some people say ghosts are making their lives real horror movies. Skeptics charge that these people are being haunted by overactive imaginations. Do ghosts really exist, or is there a logical explanation for every mysterious noise or phantom visitor? Jackie Hernandez's ghost story began 5 years ago when she and her 2-year-old son moved into a small bungalow in San Pedro, California. At the time, Jackie was pregnant with her second child. Jackie was spooked by the voices she heard in the attic and a thick, mysterious liquid oozing from the walls. Jackie claims she even confronted one of the 2 ghosts living there. Meet paranormal researcher Barry Conrad. He and a team of investigators were called in by Jackie to investigate her haunted house. They confirmed Jackie's worst fears, that she was in fact living with ghosts. Meet Jeff Maxwell. He's a friend of Barry's who was brought into the investigation. And although he made 2 visits to Jackie's house, Jeff says the ghosts are not real. Our jury, selected from today's studio audience, will listen to this story and another haunted tale and decide whether they believe ghosts really exist. Later, you'll have a chance to vote and tell us what you think. Now, before the show, we polled our jury to see how they felt about the question. Here's how they voted. Later in the show, after hearing both sides, we'll see if they changed their minds. Jackie, what was the first thing that happened to you in that house that made you think it was haunted?
The very first thing is objects would fall off tables or counters when you would pass by without being touched, and like jump off the table at you. And that was the very first thing. After that, there was just little by little more things happened. A lamp went flying across the room. When the bed would shake and the mattress would fall through every night around midnight. The house had window shades on all the windows. It was in a square house, and one night at midnight, every single window shade simultaneously went up, and it just
that happened to every single person in Los Angeles during the earthquake. Forgive me for being a skeptic, because I'm coming it from a skeptical viewpoint. When did you first think that it was haunted? What did you first think when you saw all this happening? That something was amiss? I mean,
yeah,
like ghost-wise.
Well, yeah, when things would jump off tables and things like that, but it wasn't like spooky or scary or like out to get you or a threat or anything. It was just like, but you knew that you didn't do it. You knew that things were happening, and I had an open mind when it came to ghosts before. But
did you ever believe in ghosts before?
I didn't believe, but I didn't disbelieve.
So you were open to the suggestion that ghosts exist?
Right, and when things started jumping off tables and things like that, and there was no other explanation, that's what I came to that conclusion.
So what did you do to try to cure what I assume you thought was a very real problem?
In the beginning, I didn't do anything, and then things got worse and worse, and then I called in. There was one, my friends would come in and they would see things happening, and we had a lot of witnesses that saw things. The first thing that happened was we told the managers of my apartment what was going on, and they called in a Lutheran priest, and they came over to the house, and I think I was like 8 months pregnant, or no, I was 4 months pregnant with my daughter at this time, and they came in and they said all kinds of weird stuff, saying I had an aquarium with a little skeleton at the bottom, and they said I was bringing death into my house because I had this fish aquarium with this little...
I saw that movie.
Did you?
Yes, I remember that.
This was
Was stuff really oozing from the walls?
That's when I called Barry. That's when I called the Ghostbusters.
What was coming out of the walls? This is the part that's
This was
weird.
like, it was a fluorescent orange liquid, and I had my friend who's sitting in the audience here. She saw it. She was there with me at the time that it started coming out. That's when I called in the Ghostbusters or whatever.
Let's talk to the Ghostbuster, Barry.
Okay.
You have the ambulance. You look like Bill Murray. You walk into this house. What's the first thing what you saw?
Well, let me tell you, Bill, first of all,
we're skeptical on every case when we go into a haunted house, at least a so-called haunted house, until we see proof of paranormal phenomena. But this was a case that broke all the rules. August 8th, 1989, I took still photographer Jeff Wheatcraft, Dr. Barry Taff, famous parapsychologist, was with us, and we heard this story that intrigued us about an old man that she had seen, an apparition of an old man. Not only did she see an old man, but she said she had seen a disembodied head in an attic. I know it sounds like a bad movie, but we decided to check out her attic.
You know what? And you made a videotape, didn't you?
Yes, I'm a professional cameraman.
Okay, let's find out what that videotape showed. Let's see what he actually saw.
What we're seeing here, one evening in August 1989, this liquid, viscous liquid started oozing out of her cabinets, her wall cabinets, and Dr. Taft took a sample of this to a laboratory, and to our surprise, it was human blood plasma with a heavy copper and iodine content. We had no idea what it was at the time we were shooting this, but when the lab results. But this is a tape, interesting shot right here, of a light that shot into a storage shed in Weldon, California, where Jackie had moved.
I thought it was my garage at home.
No way. This light was self-luminescent. It's traveling over 122 miles an hour. It's been clocked by physicists. There is no explanation for that light. Some people say they're insects. There's no way. Insects don't travel that fast, and they don't generate their own lights unless you happen to be a firefly, and there are no Southern California fireflies that we know of. This is lights outside of her home. Even in broad daylight, we were able to photograph this light phenomena. There was a gate one day that opened and closed by itself, a waffle gate, and again, we didn't see these particular lights, but when we look back on the videotape, they're there.
Does this mean that there are ghosts to you?
It doesn't necessarily mean that there are ghosts there, but it does mean that there is definitely something of an unusual nature going on. This is an unknown form of energy. A physicist, Dr. Robin from Rockwell International, examined this footage. I might add that there were incredible still photographs that we don't see here, but there are incredible still photos taken by Jackie that Alan Weeder, who's in the audience tonight, examined, and he's a professional lab person here in Hollywood.
Jeff, you're a friend of Barry's.
Yes, I am.
And you go out and look at these ghosts and the ghost sightings and what did you see when you went to Jackie's house?
Well, I had two occasions to visit the home. One evening, it was around 12 o'clock at night, and Barry, first of all, I want to express to you that Barry is a friend of mine. I have the utmost confidence in Barry, not only as a video journalist, but as a human being. And I think everything that he says in terms of what he saw, he believes that he saw,
so
and
is
I believe that.
But he's a lunatic following?
Well, I didn't say that, Bill, but no, he's not a lunatic. He has certainly experienced something. He was very nice, and he called me, and he said, come on down to the house because there's some activity going on. So one evening at 12 o'clock, I drove down to the San Pedro home, and actually took two friends of mine with me, and we spent about an hour in the attic of the home where
these noises, where Jackie, you had heard noises, correct?
Right.
Where she heard noises, and I guess the head was up there too. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it wasn't there when I got there.
The head?
Yeah.
Wait a second. Hold on a second, Jeff. What head?
It was the attic door was cracked, and the first time I went up to, it was the very first time I ever went into the attic, and I went to put the attic door back on, and I'm standing on the washing machine because it's a trap door in the ceiling, and this disembodied head that was started at the far end of the attic came right at me, and it was terrifying.
Why did you stay there like another 10 seconds after that?
I didn't. My legs gave way, and I fell to the floor. I mean, I didn't even have a chance to register in my head. I was just terrified.
Now, you left the house. You left, didn't you?
Eventually.
Well, she didn't move out until after we had a more startling event happen.
And the ghost, if I understand correctly, the ghost actually followed you from place to place.
Right.
It also followed me.
And it followed you?
Followed me, but not in the first year of the haunting. This haunting went 2 years into 1990. July 1990, my home in Studio City became.
From someone who doesn't believe and who's never seen a ghost, do you realize how strange this sounds?
Yes.
It is very strange.
I mean, it sounds so incredible as to, I don't even know what to say. Jeff, do you believe any of this?
No.
That's fairly simple.
No. As I say, I spent an hour in the attic, and the two friends of mine were with me. We saw nothing.
But why would they lie about something like this?
Well, I don't think they are lying. I don't
think they
there's
saw
anybody
something?
lying. I think something I think there are a number of factors. One day I was in the house and somebody heard a noise. And the noise came from outside because I saw it was a car door. Well, inside the house, where there were several people and everybody was kind of amped up about the fact that there were ghosts here, suddenly said, "Oh, that's it, that's a ghost, that's a ghost." And that kind of traveled around the room, and everybody kind of went hysterical and said, "Well, that's the ghost, it's up there, it's down there." And in actuality, it was a car door. And
there's a big difference between a car door and seeing a head flying right at you that's disembodied. When we come back, this woman is spooked by a ghostly love triangle, and her brother says it's only a colorful legend. We'll be right back.
Yeah, I believe in ghosts because I believe in the afterlife.
There's absolutely no reason, scientific reason or anything rational that would lead me to believe that there were ghosts.
Yeah, I've seen a ghost, yeah. After you die, I believe you go somewhere. I don't know where you go, but I guess I don't know enough about it, so I'm sure there probably is ghosts.
Judge for yourself, do ghosts really exist? Robin Tomlinson has managed the Moss Beach Distillery, a popular restaurant outside of San Francisco. For the last year and a half, the restaurant had a reputation for being haunted by 3 ghosts who were involved in a love triangle when they were alive. Before she started working there, she said she heard about the ghosts playing tricks on employees but didn't believe it until it happened to her. Robin's brother, Michael Duffy, says the ghosts aren't real. He's lived in the area for 4 years, visited the restaurant many times, and he's never seen anything otherworldly. It just isn't real for him. Now, Robin, before we get to you, I want to go back to Barry for a moment. You had said something that I was going to question.
Okay.
You sent this information, this liquid blood plasma ooze slime stuff that you found to a lab.
Dr. Taff did, right.
Dr. Taff did. Mm-hmm. And the lab reports came back that it was blood plasma.
It had human blood plasma and a heavy copper and iodine content, I believe.
And do you happen to have a copy of that report?
No, I don't.
Why?
The lab person did this on a moonlighting kind of basis and would not go on camera. They didn't want to be tied to the phenomena. I know that sounds hokey, but that was where this story would go, because if you were to hire a person to do that in a laboratory, they would charge a lot of money. The other evidence speaks for itself.
All right, so we have a lab report that doesn't exist. I mean, I'm trying to nail as hard as evidence as I possibly can.
Yes.
To, keep in mind, I'm a skeptic. I really don't believe in this.
No,
and I want you to prove me wrong.
You understand that? But I think that the light phenomena that were the photographs that were taken by Jackie Hernandez, the videotapes speak on their own. And Mr. Weeder is here in the audience. Mr. Weeder has been a professional for many years, and he's seen many types of fakery in his laboratory, and he will tell you what his opinion was.
Okay. Robin, tell me about the ghosts at the restaurant. When did you first see them? What are they about?
Okay, well, at first, I didn't even connect it to this the ghost thing in our restaurant, okay? Things would come up missing that belonged to me, lights flickering off and on and then going out when I was in a room by myself. One evening, I went to the downstairs bar to get a cold bottle of champagne, and as I reached in with my left arm to the right of me, something tugged on my jacket twice, really hard, and then I felt a breeze like someone had walked by me. Okay, that really scared me.
Did anybody say, "Excuse me"?
No. No, but there were a couple tables of customers left upstairs, and they heard the terror in my voice and came running down to see what had happened.
And you couldn't have imagined this, in your opinion?
Pardon me?
This was not an imagination, a hallucination?
No, there was a definite tug on my jacket. It was a definite tug. Okay, that wasn't the only thing, though. The very last thing that happened is the scariest. I had a girl come while I did my closing checkout, and we were the only 2 people in the building. When we got finished in the office, we were on our way out of the office, and a picture fell off the wall. Okay, we continue going, and then a glass falls and breaks. We didn't think too much about this yet. We go upstairs, I do my final round on the lights and the doors, and just as we're ready to leave, I wanted to get something behind the bar. So she waited at the front door. I go around the bar, and just as I'm ready to reach into the drawer, all the bottles in the well behind me just started clanging violently together. They were just shaking and going clang, 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 clang. I mean, you could feel the
you could just feel the energy from it. I screamed bloody murder. She comes running at me, and as she's running towards the bar and I'm running out from behind the bar, she goes, "Oh my God." And I said, "What?" And she says, "There's a bottle moving." The bottles in the well had quit moving at this point, okay? She closes her eyes because she thought this was all a hoax. It was something for money, okay? She closes her eyes, gets closer, and looks again, and the bottle is sliding back and forth. Only one bottle, no other bottles in the restaurant. So we leave the restaurant and the payphone rings, and that's the end of that story. We were scared to death. We were terrorized.
Michael, this is your sister.
Yes, this Robin's my sister.
Does that story sound as weird to you as it does to me?
Very much so. When Robin first started working there, I would ask her every day, you know, have you seen the ghost? And Robin would say, no, I haven't seen the ghost yet. And this went on for 4 or 5 weeks. She'd never seen the ghost. Well, the longer she's worked there, she's come up with more incidents of things that have happened. And this last incident is, she told me, and I kind of like laughed it off. I've been in the restaurant many times.
You know, Robin, did you believe in ghosts prior to this happening?
Well, I believed in spirits, you know, that we go outside of our bodies after we die, but no, I didn't really believe in ghosts.
Tell us the legend about these ghosts.
Okay, it was 3 people. One was a piano player in the restaurant. This was in the Prohibition days. And he was dating a married woman, and she came in the restaurant. She was dressed in blue a lot. That's why she's called the Blue Lady. Okay, she was killed in a fatal car accident and was pregnant with his child when she died. He had another lover as well as her who, her name was Alma Reed. They found her at the bottom of the cliffs wrapped in seaweed, and they don't know if she killed herself or if it was foul play, but they all suffered violent deaths, and they say that their tormented souls roam the building now.
We have a question here.
Oh, I just wanted to ask the First Lady, did seeing this ghost affect your pregnancy any, and did it bother your baby after it was born?
No, it didn't bother my baby, but my 2-year-old is still suffering. He's 8 now, and he still won't go to sleep, you know, without the lights being on, and he still remembers, even though I don't talk about it in front of him, and I kept it away from him as much as I possibly could, but he was actually picked up in front of Barry and I, and he remembered, he was what, 2.5, 3 years old?
About 3.
And he was picked up, and it just scared the heck out of me. I mean,
he was actually slammed down. He was actually picked up a few inches and slammed down onto the carpet right in front of me while I was at the house.
You know, does anybody here really believe in ghosts? Over here, stand up here a minute. Okay, why does all this sound so crazy to me and it doesn't sound crazy to you?
I think because you have to believe, and you have had to have an experience. If you didn't have an experience, how could you believe it?
Well, I could believe it if the evidence was forensic evidence, if I was looking at a lab report, if I was looking at, you know, I mean, see flashes of light. I see flashes of light every time my wife slaps me upside the head. I see flashes of light. Just kidding, she really doesn't.
But then you would believe that.
But there's an explanation for everything.
No, there isn't. There doesn't have to be an explanation. The thing is that it's got to happen to you, and then it would make you a believer.
Yes,
it happened to you.
I believe in that.
It happened to me.
All right. Exactly.
I think, Bill,
and there's an explanation to all this too. It just happens to be a little weird. You know, it's a ghostly, you know.
It is otherworldly, and again, you know, by the time this show is over, I would like to have a better belief in this. I really want to be proven wrong.
I think for the believer,
and I have an open mind about this.
Well, I think for the believer, no explanation is really necessary, but for the skeptic, no explanation is possible.
Well, I don't know if that's true or not. I don't agree with that. Next, this Ghostbuster says he can prove spirits rise from the grave. But this investigator believes all ghost stories are simply a bust. We'll be right back. Ooh.
On the next Judge for Yourself.
Deborah, how can you be in love with 2 men at the same time?
It's easy.
Which one is Mr. Right? Judge for yourself.
Today, our jury, selected from our studio audience, will decide, do ghosts really exist? Joe Nickell is a former magician and private investigator. He is a member of the Committee for the Scientific Investigation of Claims of the Paranormal, a group which exposes ghost stories. For 20 years, Joe has been finding logical reasons for things that go bump in the night. Dr. Barry Taff is a parapsychologist who has investigated thousands of ghostly encounters, including Jackie's, and he says he totally believes Jackie. Now, Joe, you've been listening to these stories, and you've looked into a lot of ghost stories. What do you make of this?
These are very familiar stories. I've been at many haunted restaurants, many haunted houses. But usually when I go in, the ghost goes out the back door. Or if I spend the night, I find that, for example, the mysterious footsteps on the stairs are from a building next door. Or the rocking chair that moves when no one's near it is a function of stepping on a plank.
I understand all of that, and there's a logical explanation. But what I can't understand is Jackie's viewing a headless, a body or a head coming right at her. That's a disembodied head. That's either it really happened to her, she is totally delusional, or someone played a very sophisticated practical joke on her.
Well, I think if you believe strongly enough, you can actually see what you expect to see. I've seen case study after case study where we've had a house where someone was haunted. They saw a ghost. They had things mislaid, all manner of noises and ghostly happenings. Person moves out, and the next person who moves in is a disbeliever, and nothing happens. I know houses where I investigated one at Gettysburg, Pennsylvania recently, where the young lady, ghosts were swirling about her. I mean, she had ghostly phenomena happening all the time. Her father, who lived in the same historic house and spent many weeks there, was a firm disbeliever and consequently heard and saw nothing, whereas she was very much a believer in ghosts.
Now, you saw the videotape evidence that was presented. We asked you to take a good look at it.
Right.
What do you make of it?
Well, I thought a lot of it was pretty much a joke. The claim that the blood is blood when we don't have a laboratory test insults one's intelligence. What we need is a forensic serologist who knows how to test blood to test it, and not some amateur lab that is doing it for fun late at night and doesn't want his name used. Those lights that we saw, those streaks of lights, could easily have been reflections off of bugs or any of a number of things. What we have to be careful about, I think, is there's a Latin name. It's called argumentium ad ignorantium, but I'll just explain it as arguing from ignorance. We don't know what it was, therefore it's a flying saucer, or therefore it's the Loch Ness Monster, or therefore it's a ghost. It's a logical fallacy. If we don't know what it is, then we just simply don't know what it is.
Let's go to Dr. Barry Taff. You obviously disagree. You think this is very much for real. What makes Jackie's story so believable to you?
Well, I think what's most impressive is that the case took on a light, sort of a scope that extends beyond any case we've had, in the sense that the phenomenon attacked one of our associates 3 times, and if it wasn't for our presence, it would have killed him at least once. It also followed Barry Conrad back to his apartment, and it wreaked havoc there. And that either assumes we're faking it, we're delusional, or everyone is delusional. And when you're present with a film crew and things start flying around you, and there's no, magnetic phenomena, there's no seismic activity going on, there's no power lines running through the apartment. This is real psychokinetic activity. We're watching it, objects are moving, the camera crew just wants to get out and leave. Either assume we're being tricked by someone else, we're doing it to ourselves, or something real is happening.
Why does mainstream science dismiss parapsychology?
Because,
just out of hand.
Real simple. Science is based on replication in a controlled environment, in a laboratory. This phenomena does not work like a machine. If the phenomena, whatever we're talking about, whether we're talking about poltergeist activity or psychokinesis, if it never happened, no one ever experienced it, we wouldn't be here debating it. If it happened all the time, we could make it occur on command, replicate it in a lab under controlled conditions at will. Again, we wouldn't be here debating it. We'd understand the phenomena. The fact that it happens some of the time and not all the time tells us one thing: we're ignorant.
Take a question.
Okay, well, just from what you just said, you don't go to the bathroom until you have to go to the bathroom. Ghosts are always around, and you only feel them or communicate with them when they want to communicate with you. They are their own entity.
You believe that?
Yes. Now, Jackie saw the head. The blood from the body was what was dripping from the ceiling, perhaps. Is there any correlation, Mr. Ghostbuster? In terms of the bar or where the bottles were, birds of a feather flock together. Now, these people or these entities were shaking these bottles, right? And one decided it stood out, and you saw it. You focused on it. It focused on you. The other ones decided to let it take the show. Those bottles were spirits in that form. That happened to you. I believe that can happen. My grandmother's gone. I wore her pin tonight for some reason. I didn't know what the topic of the show was. The pin disappeared. It was laying out there, and it was waiting for me to come get it. Nobody stepped on it. It wasn't broken, damaged, and she kept it and brought it back to me. Ghosts are real.
But are you know what? It almost seems to me like you are stretching. And I got to tell you, I understand you believe it, but you're all these phenomena, you know, the pin, and my grandmother's gone, and, you know, my grandmother's gone too, you know, but she's gone.
Right.
You know, and she looks just like that light up there. I could swear, you know, I mean.
If you want it to be.
That's exactly the point. If you want it to be. So it's a question, let's go back to Joe. That's exactly, it's what you want it to be. It's up here, isn't it?
I think so.
You can rationalize
time
that.
and time again. In fact, a psychologist that I work with, Robert Baker, has a saying, there are no haunted houses, only haunted people. I've certainly met haunted people. I was recently in a haunted, in quotation marks, Indiana farmhouse where a lady had her children huddled on daybeds and cots downstairs. We investigated. We found no explanation, no evidence for anything ghostly. We did find mice droppings, rat droppings upstairs that could have caused noises. When the husband said, mostly my wife believes it, she launched into a tirade against him, and he shut up. So you have a woman who's very disposed, very pro-ghost. Again and again, we have test cases where people who don't believe aren't haunted, and people who do believe see ghosts everywhere.
Okay. Next, we'll hear from a psychologist who went from being a true believer to a skeptic, just like me. And we're going to find out why in just a moment.
I believe in ghosts. I believe that they're real. I just think they're disembodied spirits and that they're around all of us. And I have some photographs of my apartment with some ghosts in the mirrors.
I think it's the people's imagination. I believe in ghosts, but I don't fear ghosts. I think you should fear the living, not the dead.
Today, judge for yourself, do ghosts really exist? Meet Dr. Stephen Mason, a psychologist who used to believe in ghosts, and I assume you no longer do, right, Doc?
I no longer do. I used to believe in ghosts and monsters and all those things because it was very exciting. But we would go out and talk to people, and they'd tell you a very scary story, very believable story. And then 6 months later, they'd tell you an entirely different story. I decided to see a ghost for myself, so I made up a sighting. And I went around and told people, and before I know it, I had my name in the newspaper. I was on television shows. The limo would come and pick me up and take me back.
But hold on a minute. You know, I understand you can easily make this into a fraud.
You can.
That's easy to do. That's a given. But does that mean that the people who really do see ghosts are not believable, and are they frauds automatically?
I assign some level of probability to it because I don't really know for sure, but I would say it's very, very low probability.
Let me ask you a question. Hold on. Jackie, tell me what was happening in your life at the time you saw the ghost. You were pregnant?
I just got separated from my husband.
You had just separated from your husband. You were under unbelievable stress, weren't you?
I was going to school full time, and yeah, I had my son.
Do you think that that kind of stress made you more apt to see ghosts if you otherwise would not have?
Well, you can say that about, you know, me and about certain situations, but when everybody that entered the house saw things too, you can't, you know, say that it was my stress.
That's a theory that I would think makes sense. Does that make sense to you?
I would look for motivation, and I'd say there's a very strong money motive here. These people go out and investigate these things, make films, and then sell them commercially.
You know, anybody making money here? Barry, you making any money off of this?
Nope.
Jackie, you making any money off of this?
I've done, no.
Jeff, you making any money? Yeah, these people, I think they're more true believers in making money off of this.
I'd like to ask what they do for a living.
Let me explain something. With regard to the stress factor, the idea of that stress is a mediating factor in this, I label this case more of a poltergeist case than one of a haunting. Poltergeist cases are suggestive of a psychokinetic origin, which is not a ghost in any way, shape, or form. Psychokinetic phenomena, it seems to be triggered unconsciously by stress, tension, anxiety, unresolved emotional conflicts. This situation fits these.
No, I want you to meet Jeff Wheatcraft. Jeff, stand up a moment. Jeff was the cameraman who was there in the attic of that house, right?
Exactly.
And what happened to you as you were photographing or filming the attic of Jackie's
Well,
house?
the first, there were 3 incidents actually. The first incident, the camera was pulled from my hands. We found the camera separated, the body of the lens was separated, or the body, I'm sorry, the body of the camera was separated from the lens, and it was 15 feet apart in the attic. Explain that one. The second incident was the hanging incident, where I was actually hung. There was a...
Wait, you were actually hung?
I was hung. Yeah.
You know, I know what hanging is. Now, you don't have to show me. What do you mean you were hung?
Okay. Another researcher and I, and we have another witness. We had people downstairs. I was up in the attic, and we're walking around. We're looking around to see if there's anything going on, or if there's any kind of things that we can pick up, in any evidence whatsoever. I take a step. I remember taking a step. All of a sudden, the next thing I remember is I'm pulled over on the side of the attic with a clothesline rope that was tied in a seaman's knot. I know nothing about knots, nothing whatsoever.
Okay. Let's take another look at that tape.
Bill, I might mention, I took that video. I was there the night he was hung. I didn't see him get hung, but another night he was levitated and thrown against the wall in front of me and 2 other witnesses. I mean, he was literally levitated.
You know what? Of course, that's believable. You've now convinced me. Let's take a look at that video.
That's the actual video of Jeff coming out of the attic. I was shooting just below the attic. We heard a scream. You remember, I'm a cameraman, so I try to document whatever's happening. These photographs were taken by another researcher named Gary Bain. He was in the attic. This happened behind Gary. Gary turned, he heard the scream, he turned, he fired off his 35mm camera. By the way, we might mention Jeff was, he was a school principal in Nebraska, and he was a skeptic going into this case.
Yeah.
Now, Jeff, if I just showed you a picture of me sitting in the attic with a clothesline hanging up like that, you would think I'm a very depressed young man, wouldn't
That's right, exactly right. But it happened to me, and so I have to believe it. I have to believe it. I sit back and I sometimes wonder, I try to think of a logical explanation for this whole thing. How did it actually happen?
And you don't have one?
No, people say, oh, there was a noose up there and you walked into it, stuff like that. No.
Okay,
I actually blacked out for a period of time.
Okay.
You know,
thanks. Next, we'll find out what our jury has been thinking. We will be right back. Judge for yourself, do ghosts really exist? Now, before we go to our jury with jury questions, I know you've got something to say.
I was just curious, the lady that has a restaurant in San Francisco, Robin, do you realize there's over 200 earthquakes a day in California?
It's not just the shaking of the bottles. Little boys in the men's restroom have said, Dad, who's that woman? And their father will turn around and there's nobody there.
Once you get a flap started by a process like accretion, it draws every incident then becomes the ghost.
No,
you know, their own promotional material. When you look at this kind of thing being handed out about that restaurant and charging $75 for, quote, to observe supernatural forces at work. Shoot, I'll pay 3 times that, but I don't want to see a fake demonstration by
Let's go
some
to the
alleged
jury.
psychic.
It's time to ask some jury questions. Maria Kay, you're our jury foreman. Let us go to some questions. This first one's to Joe. Joe, you looked at the photograph of Jeff hanging by the neck. How do you explain it?
I'm really distrustful of that segment of footage. I looked at it several times this afternoon, and I noticed there's not a mark on his neck.
That's not true.
That's not true. Not true at all.
Can't see it.
There are, a rope burn is very clearly indicated when he comes down out of the attic. We did a close-up, you can see a rope burn clearly in his neck, so that's untrue.
Well, I couldn't see it.
I might mention, I shot that footage. I was there. You don't see the rope burn until he actually comes down out of the attic. We get a little more level shot of him. But I might mention, not only do we see very pronounced rope burns in Jeff's neck, but the performance of those balls of light that you saw, those corpuscular lights, they appeared again. They shot behind doorways. They went over his head.
Let me go to Robin. Robin, the jury wants to know, have other people in the restaurant lost things, and if so, have those items been found?
Nobody that I've worked with, no, they have not lost any pieces of jewelry or anything else. It happened to someone a long time ago before, yes. And they were found in a little pile later, and so has some of my things, too.
And the last question is to Barry Taff. probably one or two other skeptics on the jury. Barry, what qualifies you to be a Ghostbuster?
I've spent 26 years investigating more than 3,300 cases. I used to work out of UCLA's parapsychology laboratory. My training is in psychophysiology, biomedical engineering, and physics.
Boy, looks like you said that a couple of times.
Yes.
Okay. How will the jury vote when we ask, do ghosts really exist? When we return, see what happens when 9 strangers, live ones, go behind closed doors and say what they think while you judge for yourself. Judge for yourself. Do ghosts really exist? You've heard what both sides think. Now let's listen and see what the jury is saying.
All right. Do ghosts exist? London?
I believe they do, definitely, because the one little boy that the lady said that seen that woman's face, I believe that children are innocent and they have their minds open to that. Once you close it, that's it. You don't see things like that.
Okay, Dana?
I don't believe it at all. I think most people it's their overactive imagination, or they're doing it for financial gain. I'm a professional magician. I could recreate any of those things that they said.
Okay, Tim?
I believe that perception is reality. So if these people believe they exist, then they're going to exist in their minds. But I mean, so if I have an experience, it might be real to me, but it might not be real to someone else.
I do believe in supernatural. I do believe in ghosts. But I don't believe these people at all. I think they're phony as a $3 bill. That's it.
Well, I would like to see a certified lab report on that so-called blood plasma. To me, it looked like wood sap coming from 2 joints on a piece of cabinet wood, and I'd like to see a certified lab report by some genuine scientists.
Okay. King?
I believe in ghosts from personal stories, but, I mean, the video, when that light passed by, the girl's not even looking at the light. She's looking somewhere off camera. So it's like, and half that panel is a professional camera person. It's like you gotta kind of go, yeah.
But how come the cameraman's the only one that ever sees anything that happens, you know, and then these other people come in and nothing ever happens?
Right.
Well, we all believed in ghosts in the first place, though. You never did. So, I mean, what makes you different than us? I mean, why don't you believe in ghosts at all?
Okay, when I was a kid, I would say I probably used to believe in it because it was fun to believe in something like that. But as I got older, I got more skeptical. Even things, I used to believe in the Loch Ness Monster. I thought it was so cool that there was this monster. But then, you know, the guy who took that original picture, he just recently died. And before he died, he told his son that he faked the whole thing.
I think that every time you hear about these stories, if you check it out, there's somebody pulling strings and levers, and there's mirrors and smoke.
Exactly. I don't believe that. I don't believe that. No. I've experienced stuff flying across the room and stuff, honestly. I really have.
Right in front of your face?
Right in front of my face. And I have nobody there to prove it. I've had nobody there to prove it.
Or Ouija boards. Ouija boards.
I used to play.
I know so many people that have done it, and it moves. I mean, it's like they take their hands off and it still moves.
Yeah, but your mind can get that stuff going. I can say, I mean, if you look at it, I mean, when you start looking at these things, I mean, because I mean, I could say, I mean, I've had experiences like that. My mother has used a Ouija board, and she had it in there when I was a kid. I used it. And I could swear to God, you know, she swears to me this day that when she used it with me, she wasn't moving it, and I know I wasn't. But what's to say I didn't fool myself into thinking that?
Look what the good doctor at the end of the panel was saying. He says, you know, he believes that people, you know, see what they believe. And I think all of us have incidents like that. And it's like the flying saucer phenomenon. It started in the late 40s and went on, and it still goes on. People have even, you know, the little green guys have come out and they've captured them and taken them in and examined them, but no one ever can go back and do it again. And when you get into the scientific method that we've been all taught in school, somebody has to be able to prove it in another place, not necessarily in a lab, but be able to prove it again.
Right. I mean, look how many people have died throughout the ages, and then there should be a lot more ghosts. People should be happening all the time.
I didn't used to believe in it. When my aunt said that she saw my grandfather, right? I said, well, she's over-exaggerating a little bit, right? Until I really seen it for myself.
The main reason people aren't going to come out and say it is because, I mean, if you... Honestly, if I came out and said, oh, yeah, I saw something in my room last night, and not only would it scare, but you people would probably call me a kook. Yeah. And just the same thing that we're saying about them. Until you guys had actual proof in front of you. Now, if I couldn't give that to you, what am I supposed to do? I can't do that.
You know, Harry Houdini said when he died, if he can come back, he would come back. Guess what? He hadn't come back.
When we come back, the jury's decision. See if their decision matches yours. And if you'd like to be a member of our jury or our studio audience and will be in the Los Angeles area, send a postcard to Judge for Yourself Tickets, 4401 Sunset Boulevard, Los Angeles, California, 90027, or call 213-953-5855.
Took you 6
From 5 to 9.
Do ghosts really exist? Maria Kay, has the jury reached its otherworldly decision?
Yes, we have.
All right. Do ghosts really exist? Starting with King in the back. Let's see how you voted. King, do you believe ghosts really exist?
Yes.
Yes, you do. That's one yes. Okay. Janet.
Yes, I do.
Yeah, that's 2. Dana.
Absolutely not.
All right. No. All right, there you go. Ray, do ghosts exist?
Yes.
Yes. London, do you exist? Do they exist?
Yes, Bill, absolutely, 100%.
They. Fred, do ghosts really exist?
No way.
All right. Benny.
Yes, they do.
Oh. Tim, do ghosts exist?
They absolutely do.
And Maria Kay, do ghosts exist?
Yes.
Yes. 7-2. Now, before the show, we took a poll. It was 7-2. It hasn't changed. Maria Kay, you voted yes, but you have something to say, don't you?
Yeah, I think most of the jury, I mean, we all believe ghosts exist. We did in the beginning, we do now, but we're really skeptical about these people, about these two stories. I mean, we don't necessarily believe your stories, but we still believe ghosts exist.
Ah,
so.
All right. Thank you. All right. I want to thank both our believers and our skeptics for being with us today. It was interesting, and I got to tell you, I wanted to believe. I tried as hard as I could. Not yet. Not yet. We'll do this again. You heard what our jury thinks. What do you think? Do ghosts really exist? Call 1-900-680-VOTE and let us know, and we'll give you the results on our next show. But first, we'll leave you with the phone poll results from our last show. Here's what you thought, and if you're one of those people who called in to vote, thanks for calling and thanks for joining us. I'm Bill Handel. See you next time on Judge for Yourself. Viewer verdict is in on the question, do accused child abusers deserve a second chance? Here's how you voted. If you're a Prodigy member, you can vote on today's jury question, Just Jump Judge. Show ideas and comments can also be sent using email.
Promotional consideration provided by One taste and you'll fall in love with I can't believe it's not butter spray. It's the taste you love without the cholesterol. Introducing Old El Paso Cheese and Salsa Dip, America's favorite salsa with real cheese. New from Old El Paso. Remington Swing 7. This exclusive wax core heated roller system is the world's favorite. For big soft curls every time. The Swing Setter, now from Remington. Through the magic of motion, Noma's Ornamotion rotating ornaments bring your Christmas tree to life. Noma helping you express the special meaning of Christmas.
There's still more talk later on today on KCAP. Be here again at 5 for the Best of Maury, right here on Channel 9.